4 minutes in. Rachel will be on the chat in case anyone has any questions. Feel free to put them into the chat. We'll have a Q&A section towards the end. Totally comfortable at that point if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question there, or if you prefer to put it in the chat. Either way, that is fine by me. We will make sure to get to those questions, but please do hold them until the end. Don't unmute yourself during the presentation. I know people are very eager to talk to me, but you're gonna have to wait. So we're gonna jump right into our EDD focused town hall this week with a quick discussion of the state of the office. So we just hired Ben. Yay. Very exciting. We were able to bring him over from the dark side over in Des Moines, Iowa. So now he's a Nebraskan. So I'm sure he's absolutely jazzed beyond all belief about that. He's our broadband policy analyst. He's on today's call. So you might be seeing him around a little bit more as we get him trained up. He's already been a great member of our team, a tremendous, some might say, member of our team as well. So we're just very, very lucky to be able to flesh out more members. And we'll be bringing on another member next week, who I don't have listed here, but John will be part of Diane's team over on the financial side. But we're still hiring an additional grant analyst and an additional budget and finance manager. So if you're looking into those positions, or you know anyone that has any level of accounting or financial background, please direct them towards us. We are going to be posting those very shortly once we finish revamping our repost on those. So quick update on digital equity. So our digital equity plan would be due to the feds tomorrow, 3-29. We have a couple updates that we have to provide them as well, but that's more of an us thing. And so far we've gone through one round of curing. They found what is called a deficiency with our plan. So that's basically just, hey, we didn't agree with this piece, or this piece could cause you problems down the line. So have you thought this out thoroughly? And in this instance, this was a situation where the metric wasn't exactly clear. So we've fixed that. That was the only deficiency. To put into perspective, we've had somewhere in the high teens deficiencies for our volume 1s and volume 2s of our BEAD program initial proposals. So it is really a testament to Diane's good work on fleshing out that plan, and also Anne's groundwork before she retired on getting that plan kind of finalized, working through a lot of the information that the EDD has provided, which we're very grateful for. So we'll be posting that plan once it gets officially approved by the NTA on our website. We've moved over a lot of the materials that were helmed at the NITC to our website, and we'll continue to update that. So of course, any suggestions are more than welcome as we provide more information. We want to make sure that all of our public communications are geared towards helping the community. So if you have any suggestions on better ways of doing that, of course, direct them to our email inbox. We're going to be taking a look at that. That's ndot.broadbandoffice@nebraska.gov. Right, Trevi? Getting the nod. Awesome. That means I'm on the right track. I'm not doing anything wrong. So another thing that I just want to say is that there is another update specifically for EDDs this morning. There's a DELN webinar about the capacity grant on April 2nd. Highly recommend attending that. And that kind of wraps what we want to talk about for digital equity. We'll have more information about that once we get the NOFO coming out, and we can start talking about how that grant process would work. Moving on, just to highlight some things from the SBLN conference that happened in February. Just want to make sure we put a bow on this. We were able to connect with several other states, as well as meeting with the NTIA. One of our big takeaways from that was states and the NTA are getting a little bit more serious about partnerships with the program, recognizing, how we have to have all hands on deck, local communities, ISPs, everyone has a part to play in this. And it's really the job of the NTA and the states to facilitate greater participation. We want to make sure that we have a program that is able and ready to serve everyone through everyone's participation. So that means that drafting a program that doesn't put undue burdens on ISPs or subgrantees, such that they won't participate in the program. Because if they don't participate, then we don't really have a program at the end of the day. That said, though, we do need to make sure that when they do participate, they are holding their side of the deal. So there are a couple of different pieces in there, such as the affordability plan requirement, the middle income, or I think it's middle income plan, something along those lines as well. And those we're not imposing a number. We're just asking for our plan to be provided, and then we're just scoring on how low it gets. So that's kind of how we're going about that, because we want to avoid rate regulation, which we're not allowed to do, obviously. And I think a lot more of those states, frankly, are learning those lessons and learning how to build better partnerships and following our lead that we're able to get from our director, who has a lot of connections in that realm. A couple other lessons learned, and that is we are really the tip of the spear on a lot of different pieces, particularly the challenge process. We're learning that other states that are working with our vendor are a little bit behind us, so we're able to give them some guidance on how to kind of navigate some of the pitfalls that we experienced that delayed the opening of our challenge process, both with NTA and then also just with the platform as well, the limitations of the platform that I'm sure a lot of us are already familiar with. So it's great to be able to provide that information and learn that we really are leading the nation in a lot of ways, which I'll be getting to very shortly. But that does come with a double-edged sword. So rather than us being able to learn from some of the bigger states, we are teaching some of the bigger states. So we'll run into some issues before they do. So we're working as hard as we can to make sure that any of those issues we get mitigated right away. So I think it was a good meeting. From what I've heard from Trevi and Shandana and Patrick, who were all there, that they learned a lot. They met, developed a lot of good networking skills, and were able to really meet with others that I think will be able to help us later on down the line, because we do talk to each other. All the states do talk to each other on a pretty frequent basis. So I think it's going to be a good community moving forward, and I think we're going to get even better information at the next one. Moving on to some legislative highlights here. I'm sure many of you are paying attention to the legislative process as it's wrapping up right now, but we did have Director Haggerty's unanimous confirmation, which is fantastic. We're very happy to see that. I always say that I'm the happiest in the office that he's here, because then that means that he gets to take on the director duties, which is fantastic for me. But moving on to some more legislation, LB 61 was signed by the governor, so that is now into effect. And LB 1336 and 1389 are both in committee, and based on the current trajectory of the Senate, they are tackling higher, level bills that are in select file or in final reading primarily, or priority bills, which neither of these are. So I would be very skeptical of seeing them even reaching the floor this session. That doesn't mean they're not going to be reaching the floor next session. So we are paying attention to those bills, along with all other bills that have dealt with broadband in any such way that could affect the BEAD process or the office itself. So we're just keeping in mind kind of how session went this time, and we'll be prepared for the long session starting next year. So these are just kind of what we've been paying attention to. If you have any information that you think would be useful to the office, of course, again, feel free to send it to our email on that. So what I kind of teed off earlier is us being the tip of the spear. We are number 2 in the nation with our milestones that we've met. There are 10 total milestones. The final one that we have not met, we are at 9 out of 10, is having IPv2 approved, which I'll be getting to in a couple slides, kind of the process on that. But this is great for us being such a small state and such a small office as far as population is concerned. When I first started this office this time last year, it was just me, and now we're up to just about 7 individuals in the office, including me, of course, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have a team on board. It makes my life easier, my job easier, and we're able to put forth a better product, especially concerning the website with our comms team. Very, very thankful for all of their skills on that piece. So I think it just really goes to show how we're able to be a small office with a loud voice, and I think that's fantastic for the state of Nebraska. Quick update, and we've talked about this a couple of times in the past, but I just want to provide a little bit more context on this, is our eligibility numbers. Now we expect these to continue to go down as more grant awards are given out from the PSC, and we're aware that there's been some reverse auction going on. Also, more grants will be awarded coming in June. So it's fantastic just to be able to see all of these numbers on kind of where we started and where we are right now. This just means that it's highly likely that we'll be able to target all the underserved locations as well. So that means all the red dots and the yellow dots now. Back, this time last year and even to last fall, we're pretty confident that, we'll be able to tackle the unserved, but when it comes to the underserved, that's just, that just wasn't in the cards at that point in time, because, we're talking about 80,000 locations. That's quite a bit for the amount of funds that we have, based on the fact that some of these locations, based on various cost models, could reach totals of $40,000, $45,000, $50,000 per passing. And when you spread that over, several thousand locations, you can see that $405 million gets eaten up rather quick. But when we're looking at something that's more akin to about 24, 25,000 locations between both unserved and underserved, the math starts to work out a little bit more in our favor, and we can even start looking at the CAIs. But no promises on that front. We got to make sure that all of the unserved and underserved locations are being taken care of. Now, you might be wondering, why is it that these numbers have gone down so much? Well, there's been quite a bit of movement on the federal side as far as programs concerned, and also on the state and local side, which we don't want to necessarily gloss over too much. But this next slide kind of shows, this is a still image from our map over on the broadband website. And that big kind of indigo, purple, royal navy blue kind of deal that's going on all across the map, that is the enhanced ACAM program. That is basically where the federal government came out to a lot of companies that were awarded ACAM, which these standards were set at 25/3, and said, hey, we'll give you additional funding if you're able to reach 100/20 in your territories. A lot of ISPs stepped up to the plate and said, we'll take this on for sure. And we're very thankful for that. That targeted, more than 30% of our locations, which is fantastic across the state, that were still outstanding. So a lot of the state got covered just with this program specifically. Obviously, you can see there's, at least almost a dozen other programs up there as well that are also targeting different locations. So every little bit counts. Every single BSL gets us even closer. So we're very optimistic about our ability to be able to reach all Nebraskans and turn our broadband map fully green by 2029, by the end of the program. If there are any issues with some of these grant programs, or if you're experiencing build out in your area, just know one of the big distinctions between us and other agencies is we have yet to grant out any dollars yet. We have had nothing to do with EACAM. We've had nothing to do with Reconnect, Broadband Bridge, CPF, ARPA, anything like that was not run through our office. Most of that happened well before our office. So any of those stateside program questions, I would ask that you direct your questions to the PSC. You can, of course, send them to us. I'll just let you know that we will probably be routing them to the PSC. So if you want to skip the middleman, of course, feel free to do so. But we've gotten quite a few questions on what the distinction is on that, and I wanted to make sure I had that off. Now, so moving on to the state of the program, I kind of teed this up a little bit. IPv1, we've gotten written approval, allowed us to start a challenge process. Hunky dory on that. If you want to read that, it's up on our website. IPv2, we're currently in the curing process. We're getting quite a bit of pushback on our reluctance to set rate regulation, which we've been informed is illegal. So we're having that argument with NTIA right now about kind of how we thread that needle, how we square that circle. Them wanting us to set a rate and us not wanting to do that and break the law. So we are doing our very darn best to make sure that we are following the strictures set out in the NOFO and the strictures set out in the IAJ bill. So that is the current state of play over IPv2. No idea on when that actually will get approved. Based on the trajectory of IPv1, we had that submitted in late October, early November, and it got approved in late February. So we could be seeing 2-3 additional months from now that it could get approved, or even longer. No idea. No idea on when that would happen. The only impact that IPv2 really has on the program, as we can see it right now, or at least the one that we're really concerned with, is once that gets approved, our clock starts ticking for the final proposal. So what the final proposal is basically we have to outline where we're spending our funds, who we're granting out the funds to, and we have to complete that entire grant process by then. So that actually does kind of benefit us as a state and as an office to have IPv2 delayed a little bit further so we can run the best grant program we can. Gives us a little bit more time on the front end to make sure that all of the different pieces are all there in line. Everyone, is getting a fair shot. We're as objective as possible, which is our goal. So a little bit of delay on this, not really too worrisome for us per se. The challenge period, moving on, we're knee deep in that right now. We'll be concluding our second week tomorrow, running the challenge process. We'll be having our second week's posting of all the challenges we received. I think we've received north of 700 challenges now, which is great, or 700 BSLs that have been challenged. There's been a couple of different, kind of area challenges going on in there, or at least multiple challenges or multiple BSLs for one challenge, which is fantastic. That goes to show that unlike some other states, not going to name who, but some other states, we actually have had participation, and I think that really speaks to our ability to get out in the community, our willingness to promote our message, and the great work by our communications team to actually be able to target those people that really need to be the ones to just go ahead and submit the challenges. I think we've had a really good operation getting advocates onboarded. I have not checked the most recent list that was sent to me today. This morning, I haven't had an opportunity to do so, but I do know that we had roughly around 70 or so last I had seen. So that's fantastic to be able to see that level of participation here in the community. And I just want to say thank you to all the advocates for stepping up and submitting challenges, collecting information, and making sure that your constituents or your customers are properly served and properly represented on our map. I do also know that there are some gaps in knowledge in our map. We seem to be missing some information from the PSC on the 2021 and 2022 broadband bridge grant cycles. So, we can't really stop the process to get that right now, but what we can do is, of course, receive those enforceable commitment challenges and make sure those are properly recorded. And that's the entire purpose of the challenge process, frankly, is to make sure that what we have going into the BEAD granting process is the most accurate map possible. Now, we understand once you get a map set up, it's already out of date. New construction's happening all over the place. But we just want to make sure that going into it, we're 98, 99% accurate on that point. And speaking of new construction, we are aware that in some of these grant areas that new houses are being put up basically every other week. And there's some questions surrounding, okay, well, how are those going to get addressed if they're part of the enforceable commitment area, but they aren't named in the grant? Well, there's not a whole lot we can do in our challenge process about that because we're restricted by the NTIA from adding any additional locations. Now, we can change locations and how they're kind of tagged, going from served to underserved or vice versa. But we can't add anymore. So our ask in that would be to submit a location challenge to the feds, the FCC, as soon as possible if you're aware of any BSLs that are new constructions or any BSLs, frankly, that just aren't included as dots on the map. And get that into the FCC as soon as possible. And there might be an opportunity for that to be represented in our map. I don't want to make any promises on that. We're moving rather quickly. And we're looking to freeze the map as soon as we get approval from NTIA following our challenge process. So just keep that in mind. The faster that you're able to move, the higher chance that it's actually going to be included. And, that'd be great to make sure that we're able to capture all of those new constructions. But again, no promises on that. It's a very much a might, may, can, could kind of situation. So we just want to make sure that we have as accurate as possible a map. So moving on. Just before we get to the Q&A section, I just want to kind of give us a forward-looking perspective on what to expect. The LOI is coming up here in the summer following our challenge process. Once we get final approval from NTIA, we'll start kind of posting LOI submissions. That could be anytime after the challenge process is concluded. That'll be happening sometime in the summer, could be late summer, could be, around June, July. We don't know. But just look for it around that time. We'll make sure that we get that posted and we're kind of blasting that out that has started. It'll be, of course, announced on the town halls once we have a secure date as well. But just be aware that is going to be happening. We're looking at applications to be starting in early fall. So that'll be the RFA process. That's looking when our DPAs will be absolutely finalized by then. Things of that nature will be beginning at that. We would like to be able to grant our dollars out by the end of the year. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. It kind of depends on the level of participation in the first round of grants and whether or not that, we really see a lot of ISPs kind of stepping up to the plate and taking up the mantle on a lot of these grants and the various DPAs. And just know that we'll be drawing the DPAs to the best of our ability to make sure that they're as attractive as possible to the greater community to take those on. We don't want to necessarily have a situation where, you have a pick and choose where everyone goes for the, the BSLs that have a $2,000 per passing, very economical, and everyone ignores the $45,000, $50,000 BSL per passing or per passing for the BSLs. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure everyone gets covered. So just know that we'll be as fair and equal as possible in that process. So finally, I'm done talking. Moving on to the Q&A section. Rachel, are there any things in the chat? Any questions in the chat right now?
Nothing right now.
Nothing right now. All right. Well, I'll give everyone just about 30 seconds. If you have a question, to go ahead and ask it. You can either put it in the chat or raise your hand or start speaking. Otherwise, if anything does come to you following this town hall, feel free to send it to our email. That is ndot.broadbandoffice@nebraska.gov. which is right there on the screen, as well as our website. If you have any questions about something, you could probably find some information on there, which is broadband.nebraska.gov. So with that said, not hearing any questions, nothing in the chat. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you for attending and walking through this presentation with me. We'll be starting a new circuit next month. And I just want to say for this group, we'll be combining EDDs and nonprofits because we usually have about low single digits participation in both of those. And the office would really like to see a better use of the Thursdays for a lot of these questions that we're getting to have some kind of more localized training or something. We're working that out. No promises on exactly what's going to happen, but just know that this time we'll be using as well for community engagement. So thank you guys so much for your attention, and I hope to see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.